Hello everyone, welcome to the course Animal Waste Management under the module Special Waste Management Week 3 Lecture number 3. Myself Dr. Utkarsh Kumar Tripathi, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Veterinary Animal Sciences, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Today we are going to discuss about the vermicomposting. Here it is almost the same with the composting, but we are going to use earthworm for making it more efficient for its utility as well as its production. So, as an introduction of vermicomposting, we know that vermicomposting is the process of converting organic waste into nutrient-rich fertilizer through the action of earthworm. This method utilizes various species of worms, primarily red wigglers, to decompose organic material, resulting in a product known as vermicompost or worm casting, which is highly beneficial for soil health and plant growth. What are different importance in waste management and animal husbandry and agriculture? In case of we are using vermicomposting as our waste utilization method. Vermicomposting plays a crucial role in sustainable waste management by efficient recycling of organic waste, reducing landfill burden and minimizing the greenhouse gas emission. It transforms agricultural residues, food scraps and other biodegradable materials into valuable fertilizers that enhance soil fertility and structure. This process not only improves crop yield but also promotes environmentally friendly farming practices. The vermicomposting process involves several key steps. The very basic method of vermicomposting is to collect the organic material in the form of livestock waste, agricultural waste and other food scraps and kitchen waste and everything what we can have in the form of organic waste, and thereafter putting it into some concrete pit, and thereafter after collecting and storage of it, then adding some specific earthworm species into this, and thereafter there will be ingestion of earthworm and ingestion of that organic material by the earthworm, and it will be just excreted out in a very simpler form which can be easily absorbed by the plant and which can be easily utilized by the plants thereafter for their health and retaining the soil health and enhancing the soil health in future. So, here we can see that organic waste is just collected and pre-treated if it is necessary to optimize the condition for the earthworm digestion. Earthworm ingestion means that organic material will be ingested by the earthworm, means earthworm feed on that organic matter, breaking it down physically and chemically in their digestive system, and thereafter this process involves microbial activity that further decomposes the material into more and more simpler form. Casting production means cast, here we are saying cast, that the excretory material of that earthworm, means the undigested material is excreted out as worm casting. In the form of worm casting, you people might have gone through that casting in rainy season and others from the premises where earthworms are generally found, which are very rich in nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. This casting improves soil aeration, water retention and microbial activity. Thereafter, after we have received the casting, then the maturation of that casting and in the form of vermicomposting will be there. When the vermicompost matures over time, during which the beneficial microbes continues to enhance its nutrient profile and effectiveness as a soil amendment. So, the vermicomposting process as a whole we can say that the vermicomposting process begins with the collection of organic waste, which can include various organic material. What we are receiving as a waste from the animal husbandry practices, from the agriculture practices and from our kitchen, and thereafter some other food stuff which are not usable for us, then we can use it for vermicomposting like kitchen waste. So, that organic material will be ingested by the earthworms, which is then broken down in their digestive system. The microbial action, the gut of earthworm is home to various microorganisms. As a living being like us, the earthworm is also having plenty of microorganisms in their digestive tract. So, those microbes will assist in the decomposition process. These microbes help break down of complex organic compound into simpler forms that are easier for plants to absorb. Now, thereafter, after ingestion of that organic material and processing and through the microbial action inside the GIT system of that earthworm, there will be obvious excretion after the digestion process, and after excretion that excretive material of that earthworm will be known as the casting production. Thereafter earthworm excrete the nutrient rich casting which contains beneficial microorganisms and nutrient essential for the plant growth. Now if we summarize again the vermicomposting process, we can say that the collection of waste and processing include shredding and separation of non-biodegradable material. Means it is very essential to separate that non-biodegradable material because it will not be digested by the earthworm and it is also harmful for the earthworm because those are living beings, and if they are consuming that non-biodegradable material then it will be detrimental for their health also. So we have to just separate it out of that non-biodegradable material, out of that biodegradable material from the non-biodegradable material. So the preparation of earthworm bed will be there. A concrete base is required to put the waste for vermicomposting. Loose soil will allow the worms to go into the soil. Means if we are not putting the concrete base, then the loose soil, if we are putting, then the earthworm will enter into the soil and we will be having unnecessary loss of our precious earthworm species what we have meant for that vermicomposting. So concrete floor is very necessary. So loose soil we know that will allow the worms to go into the soil, and also while watering all the dissolved nutrient go into the soil along with the water. Means leaching will be there if we are putting water for retaining the moisture, for maintaining the moisture level, moisture percentage in that organic material, for the better work, better and efficient work of earthworm for their ingestion process. Then the water will also leach it down. If we are not making the concrete floor, then water will leach out the essential nutrients of that vermicomposting. Means in future it will be leached out. So the collection of earthworms after vermicompost collection, saving the composted material to separate fully composted material. The partially composted material will be again put into the vermicompost bed. Means now we have to make it a little bit separate, a little bit separation among the processed, means matured vermicompost and immature vermicompost, and we are supposed to put the immature, or we can say that not processed vermicompost again for further processing and undergoing through the ingestion by the earthworm and thereafter excretion in the form of casting. So thereafter when we have received the vermicompost as in matured form, then storing the vermicompost in proper place to maintain the moisture and allow the beneficial microorganisms to grow. This is our final step in vermicomposting. And thereafter then we are using vermicomposting by using the ingestion and excretion process of earthworm. So what are the basic difference between these vermicomposting and traditional method of composting what we have dealt in our week 3 lecture 1 of this module. So vermicomposting significantly accelerate the decomposition process compared to the traditional composting method. So the key factor contributing to this speed, why this is very speedy in comparison to the traditional method of composting, we can see here that we are providing the optimal condition for this speed up composting. Like earthworm thrives in condition that promotes rapid breakdown of organic material such as moisture and aeration, because here a living being is just consuming the organic material and processing it through its digestion process, and thereafter excreting the undigested part and other things in the form of nutrient rich and simpler compound which is easily available for the plants for absorption as well as retention. So the next one is the microbial activity. What is different in vermicomposting? The presence of beneficial microorganisms in worms, that earthworm casting enhances the breakdown of organic material again and increase the nutrient availability for the plants. The other thing is continuous process. Here, unlike the traditional composting where material are added in batches, vermicomposting allows for continuous processing as worms can efficiently consume and break down waste on an ongoing basis. Means we can say here that earthworm, basically we are using a living being, putting organic material as a waste material for them as in the form of feed. So if we are using them as a feed, then it is very necessary to provide them the consistent supply of their feed, and so that they can convert it into the undigested part in the form of casting, what we can utilize for our feed as a nutrient rich substitute for chemical fertilizer. So, in summarized way, we can say that the time required is lesser in case of vermicomposting. Here vermicomposting is taking just 4 to 6 weeks for the finished product, that matured vermicompost, wherein in case of traditional composting we have seen in that first lecture of this module that several months to year it is taking during traditional composting method. Now what about the temperature control? It maintains the moderate temperature, but in case of traditional composting it requires careful temperature management. And if we talk about the nutrient quality, we can see that in case of vermicomposting higher nutrient content and microbial activity is there, because we are using the casting as our end products. In case of traditional composting, the variable nutrient content is seen. The labor intensity, less labor intensive is seen in case of vermicomposting, while in case of traditional composting more labor intensive processes is going on, because we are required labor for their continuous turning for better aeration. But in case of vermicomposting, what we are observing that the aeration is automatically done by our earthworm itself. So thereafter odor control, in case of vermicomposting it is minimal odor if managed properly, but in case of traditional composting can produce odor if it is not managed properly. So here is a basic pictorial depiction of that vermicomposting. We can say that what are the raw material we can utilize. The first one is biogas. The biogas slurry means, in our previous lecture in a biogas plant we were studying that biogas and its resultant material was the basic thing was the biogas, and thereafter we were also getting the biogas slurry out of it. So that biogas slurry again can be utilized as a raw material for the vermicomposting. Along with that biogas slurry we can also utilize the agroforestry waste and agricultural waste, means like leaves, plant material, agricultural byproduct, we can utilize it. Along with that we can also use the animal waste, means dung, urine and the bedding material, and we can put it in that compost pit. That compost pit we have discussed that the surface, the floor of that compost pit should be concrete material, and thereafter the Yersinia fetida and Yersinia eugenia specific earthworm are supposed to put into that vermicompost pit, and thereafter after few days there will be structural changes, means there will be simplified organic material which is available in the form of cast of that earthworm will be visible, and after 24 days of time we can get the matured product of the vermicompost, which can be utilized further on in the form of our organic manure for our field. So the types of organic waste suitable for vermicomposting, means raw material. For raw material what we can utilize, the first one is agricultural residues, the crop leftovers such as straw, husk, stalks, the leaves and plant trimmings from the farms and gardens, various food waste, various fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds and tea leaves in case of some northeast region, eggshell and other kitchen waste, means we can have as a raw material of our poultry industry waste like eggshells and some other poultry excretory material, and manure and other biodegradable material, animal manure from livestock such as cows, horses, chickens, everything, and the paper products like shredded newspaper, cardboard, means thereafter yard waste including grass clippings and small branches we can also utilize as a raw material for the vermicomposting. Means what are different benefits of vermicomposting here? Vermicomposting is the process of using worms to break down the organic matter into the nutrient rich compost, which offers several key benefits. The very first benefit is producing high quality fertilizer, that is vermicompost. Vermicompost, which is an excellent soil amendment that is rich in nutrient, which is beneficial for microorganisms and humus. It improves the soil structure water holding capacity of the soil and aeration, making it an ideal fertilizer for gardens, lawns and potted plant. It also enhances the soil health and fertility. If we are incorporating the vermicompost into the soil, we can significantly improve its overall health and fertility of that soil. The nutrients and organic matter in vermicompost is going to help to nourish the plant, to promote the root growth and increase resistance to pests and various kind of plant diseases. It can also reduce the waste which are supposed to send to landfills if we are not managing it properly. So vermicomposting is a very good method which allows us to divert the organic waste such as food scrap and other agriculture and animal husbandry waste into very efficiently usable format. Like we can use it as organic manure by converting into vermicompost. This helps to reduce the amount of methane and other greenhouse gases also which are produced by the decomposing waste in landfills, making it an environmental friendly waste management solution. Here we can see that how industrial waste, agricultural waste, animal waste and municipality waste can be utilized for vermicomposting to improve the soil health, to enhance the nutrient recycling, to increase the soil microbial activity and to increase the nutrient use very efficiently, and through which we can also utilize the wastewater treatment and vermification. Now what are different economic advantage of vermicomposting? Here we can see that the cost effectiveness is compared to chemical fertilizer. If we analyze in this format, then we can say that vermicomposting is often more affordable than chemical fertilizer. By producing your own vermicompost at home or on a farm, you can reduce your dependency on expensive commercial fertilizer, leading to a long-term saving, the potential saving on fertilizer and pesticide cost thereafter. If we are using the vermicompost, that can enhance the soil fertility and plant health, which may reduce the need of additional fertilizer and chemical pesticides. Healthier plants are generally more dependent to pest and disease, allowing you to save money on pest control measures. Direct marketing opportunity for farmers. Here we can also say that vermicomposting is a very good method where farmers can get extra revenue if it production of that vermicomposting. Means vermicomposting will get and fetch valuable revenue for the farmers by selling it in out market. If we are using vermicomposting as a fertilizer, so vermicomposting, we know that it has gained recognition as an effective and sustainable alternative to the chemical fertilizer. Vermicompost, what we see that it is rich in variety of nutrients which is essential for plant growth. It contains almost all the necessary micronutrient in the right proportions, because ultimately it is coming from the organic material which was actually from living being, so making them readily available for the plants absorption. In contrast, what we see in case of chemical fertilizer, which is typically provide only 3 primary nutrient, that is NPK, which is generally famous. The name NPK means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in a very fixed ratio, while in case of chemical fertilizer release nutrient rapidly, leading to quick plant uptake and immediate effect on growth. Means if we are applying the chemical fertilizer in our field, then the nutrient release will be very quick and plants will have to take it quickly, because it is obviously in very readily form and the growth will appear for a very short time and effective in case of chemical fertilizer. But in case of vermicomposting, what is happening that it offers a slower and more sustained nutrient release. This slow release not only promotes long-term effect on soil health but also enhances microbial activity, which is often suppressed by chemical fertilizers. Studies shows that the vermicompost can improve soil structure, moisture retention and overall fertility compared to chemical fertilizer. Research indicates that the application of vermicompost can significantly enhance crop yield, especially vermicompost applied at rates of 15 ton per hectare has been linked to increased leaf number and overall biomass compared to control group. In tomato cultivation, we have observed the use of vermicompost has resulted in higher fruit yield and quality compared to the traditional NPK fertilizers. What are different environmental impact of using vermicomposting? We see here that vermicomposting plays a crucial role in promoting environmental sustainability. Here are some key environmental benefits which are associated with this practice. Vermicomposting significantly reduces the greenhouse gas emission compared to traditional waste disposal method. When organic waste decomposes anaerobically in landfills, it produces methane, a potent greenhouse gas. By diverting organic material to vermicomposting, we minimize methane production and contribute to a reduction in overall greenhouse gas emission. One of the most immediate benefits of vermicomposting is its ability to divert organic waste from landfills. By composting kitchen scraps, yard waste and other biodegradable material, we can drastically reduce the volume of waste that ends up in landfills. Vermicomposting in turn supports sustainable farming by providing an eco-friendly alternative to chemical fertilizer. It enhances the soil health, promotes biodiversity and reduces dependency on synthetic inputs. Farmers who adopt vermicomposting practice can improve their soil nutrient profile while minimizing environmental harm, leading to more resilient agricultural system. Means here we have observed that if we are using vermicompost in compared to the chemical fertilizer, we are better sure that by using this vermicompost we can reduce the dependency of chemical fertilizer for our field. Means we are going to impose a long term effect of getting enriched our soil health by using that vermicomposting. So what are different implementation for and challenges for vermicomposting? While vermicomposting offers numerous benefits, several challenges can hinder its widespread adoption. Here are some key implementation challenges to consider. So the very first thing is the initial setup cost for vermicomposting system. Establishing a vermicomposting system can involve initial cost for material and infrastructure such as bins, bedding and worms. For large operation, these costs can increase significantly. Although the long-run savings on fertilizer may offset these initial expenses, the upfront investment can be a barrier for some farmers and households. The second one is the knowledge gap among farmers regarding the techniques. Many farmers may lack the necessary knowledge and information as well as the skill to effectively implement vermicomposting. This includes understanding the right type of organic material to use, the right species and proper earthworm care and maintaining the optimal condition for composting. Means such kind of educational program should be organized by the government, by the educational institution to train the farmers to implement more and more of vermicomposting and decreasing their dependency on chemical fertilizer, so that they can get the long term effect of that vermicomposting to enrich their soil health, to enhance the water retention capacity of the soil, and that too for the long term use, for the long term effective and efficient management of their waste disposal. So along with that, we can also go for potential pathogen risk if not managed properly. We know it that the waste material of any living being, let it be the human or animal or agricultural waste, is if not managed properly, then it may be a threat to our environment for spreading various kind of diseases, because these are having various kinds of microbes which are potential hazard for human health as well as animal health. Vermicomposting can pose risk related to the pathogens in the organic waste being composted. Improperly maintained system may harbor harmful bacteria or parasites which could potentially contaminate crops or soil. It is very crucial to follow the best practice for composting, such as maintaining appropriate moisture level and temperature to mitigate these risks. So we were talking about the best practices for composting. So what are those best practices for composting? To ensure the successful vermicomposting, it is very important to follow best practice that promotes the efficient decomposition and high quality compost production. Here are some key recommendations for the farmers and ourselves too, that to make best practice for our vermicomposting. So selecting the appropriate earthworm species. So what kind of earthworm species we can use it to make our vermicomposting very effective? Means the right earthworm species is very crucial for effective vermicomposting. The most commonly used species is Eisenia fetida, also known as the red wiggler worm. The species thrives in composting environment, has a high reproduction rate. Means the multiplication rate of this Eisenia fetida is very good and effective, so that we can have a number of earthworm at a time, so that they can more efficiently utilize the organic material, and they can turn the organic material into vermicompost in an effective manner. Other suitable species includes Lumbricus rubellus, Dendrobina veneta, but Eisenia fetida is generally preferred for home and commercial purpose. Again, the maintaining optimal moisture and temperature level, because here we are dealing with the living being, that earthworm. So we are supposed to maintain the optimum temperature and that moisture level for the better function and performance of that earthworm. So the maintaining proper moisture and temperature is very essential for the health of the worms and the efficiency of the composting process. The moisture we talk about, the beddings should be kept moist but not soggy. Means there may be around 70 to 80% of moisture content is very ideal. Regularly checking the moisture level and add water if the beds are found dry is very much necessary. If we talk about the temperature, we are supposed to keep the composting environment between 55 degree Fahrenheit to 77 degree Fahrenheit, that is around 13 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. Means we can make our vermicompost at a normal room temperature. So temperature outside this range can stress or harm the worms. Means basically we are dealing with the living being, we are saying it again and again. So we have to take care of their comfort, so that they can act efficiently and effectively, so that our organic material what we have put into that vermicompost pit in the form of waste is utilized better way, and it's converted into better vermicompost. So that we can use the thermometer to monitor the condition of temperature, and we can monitor it accordingly. So regular monitoring and management of the composting process is the aeration. Regularly turn or aerate the compost to prevent anaerobic condition. Means we are supposed to a little bit aerate the vermicompost, so that there should not be any kind of depletion of oxygen level, because the earthworm will need it, so that they can act effectively, act efficiently. If there is no aeration, if there is no oxygen supply, then it may be detrimental for the earthworms, and it may be detrimental for their life also. So thereafter feeding, means we are going to feed the organic waste to the earthworms. So introducing organic waste, gradually avoiding overfeeding. A balanced diet of kitchen scrap, vegetable, fruit peels along with the carbon rich material, shredded paper, cardboard will promote healthy worm activities. Means we are supposed to provide diverse kind of material, organic material, so that it is not very specific, which may be harmful for the earthworm, so that they can manage their ingestion and thereafter excretion and the casting, for which we are concerned, very effectively. And the next step is harvesting. So monitor the compost progress and be ready to harvest vermicompost when it appears dark, crumbly and earthy smelling, typically every 2 to 3 months. Vermicomposting system. Vermicomposting can be implemented through various systems tailored to different scales of operation. Different types of vermicomposting system. The first one is worm bins. These are the above ground container that can vary in size and shape, making them portable and easy to manage, because these are above the ground, so we can manage it to place it here and there as per our need. And the advantage of this system, that worm bins is very easy access for harvesting worms and compost, which can be insulated for temperature control, because it is outside the ground. We have not making any pit for that, it is just a bin, a large bin, so that make it insulate. If the temperature and other things varies, then we can make it comfortable for our earthworms. So what are the different disadvantages of this method? Means susceptible to rapid temperature change, because this is exposed to the outer environment. So there are some odds also attached with this. Means the worm bin system is very susceptible to rapid temperature change which require careful management. Now, worm beds, long trough either dug into the ground or placed above it, allowing worms to thrive in a more stable temperature environment. Means this is basically a dig pit inside the earth, inside the soil, so the temperature control is in a better way. So the advantage for this is that it maintains consistent soil temperature and mimics worms natural habitat. What are the disadvantages of worm beds? That it requires digging of worm and compost removal. So worm windrow method, another method is worm windrow method, that long mounds of compost material placed on the grounds, offering a compromise between bins and beds. What are advantage of worm windrow method? That large size helps resist temperature fluctuations, easy access for harvesting, but some disadvantages are also attached with that, that this method is not suitable for small spaces, making them impractical for home use. So the scale of operation, on the basis of that we can categorize that vermicomposting on small scale and large scale. So typically involves home based system, means small. If we are talking about the small scale system, then we can say that it involves some home based system like worm bins or small beds, ideal for household or community gardens looking to recycle kitchen scrap and produce organic fertilizer, and it requires less initial investment and can be managed easily by individual or families. But if we talk about the large scale vermicomposting, it involves more extensive setup like windrows or multiple worm beds designed for commercial production. This is very suitable for farms or businesses that generate significant organic waste and seek to produce large quantities of vermicompost. This large scale vermicompost may require more substantial investment in infrastructure, but can yield high return through the scale of vermicompost or worms. So the earthworm for vermicomposting, we have discussed so far that vermicomposting is a very vital natural fertilizer historically used in agriculture. So the shift to chemical fertilizer due to green revolution has harmed the soil fertility, we know it, and the beneficial microorganisms also contained in that soil. So the organic manure using it very essential for restoring that degraded lands. So the process of vermicomposting, earthworm ingest organic residues, digest them with microorganisms and enzymes and excrete them as vermicompost. So here we are seeing that soil can be enriched with the nutrients again, and also we can enhance the soil fertility which has been degraded through the continuous use of chemical fertilizer. So earthworm are categorized based on their habitat, means habitat, the top dwelling, intermediate dwelling and grassroot dwelling. So the top and intermediate worms are treated as best for the composting. So earthworm consumes around 2 to 5 times their body weight in organic matter, which and excreting 90 to 95% as fertilizers. Selection of earthworm species, nearly 3000 earthworm varieties exist here, like Acinia foetida, and African species such as Eutilus and Eugenia are ideal for commercial production. So selected species should have higher reproduction rate, adaptability to the climate and economic significance. Means thereafter, if we have chosen our earthworm species, then our next step is collecting earthworm. So using local earthworm to enhance soil fertility, select shady areas free from chemical fertilizer, spread cow dung on straws, cover with old gunny bags and sprinkle water. After 2 weeks, collect the earthworms along with some soil. So thereafter, culturing earthworm, means now we have to use the fertility of that earthworm first. So make it multiples of earthworms, so we can utilize it on a larger scale to put it into organic material, so that they can ingest more and more organic material as a waste, they can as their feed and convert it into vermicompost. So feed worms nitrogen rich material like cow dung, goat dung or pea dung for flourish it on higher ways. So vermicompost production system, various methods includes like cavity, basin and bed system. So cavity method is a very simple method for large scale production, which involves digging a pit 10 into 3 into 2 lined with bricks and filled with organic waste and cow dung. which release around 2000 to 2500 earthworm per square meter rate, covered with straws to retain the moisture. In the harvesting vermicompost, now stop watering 2 days before collecting to encourage the worm to move down. The compost can be used directly or stored for later use without the moisture loss. So when we are stopping the moisturing before 2 days of harvesting, then the worms will automatically seek the moisture percentage which is more in downside, and they will just move into the downside, so that we can take the upper surface of the vermicompost first, which is devoid of earthworm, because the earthworm has been shifted to the downside in the floor of the that bins, so that they can get moisture percentage, because we have stopped the moisturing before 2 days of harvesting our vermicompost. So use of vermicompost, this increase the microbial population in the soil because of their cast, which is the excrete material of that earthworm, and it improves the soil aeration and ultimately the root growth of the plant. It contributes to the environment protection by enhancing soil health. So what are the economics of vermicomposting? Current market trends and pricing in India shows that the global vermicompost market is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate, that is CAGR, of approximately 15.5%, reaching around $270.25 million by year 2030, driven by increasing awareness of organic farming and sustainable agricultural practices. Pricing in India, vermicompost is typically priced around 7,000 rupees per ton, with urban consumer increasingly favoring organic fertilizer due to health benefits. However, prices can vary significantly based on the supply and demand dynamics. Export opportunities: India is the largest exporter of vermicompost, with export value expected to reach around $1 billion in year 2022-23. The country has a favorable environment for vermicomposting due to its tropical climate and abundant organic waste. So what opportunities farmer can see in vermicomposting? So farmers can be involved through the incentive, through the training, to various educational program for adapting it vermicomposting for their direct sale. Means farmer can sell vermicompost directly to the consumer or businesses capitalizing on the growing demand for the organic fertilizer. This direct marketing approach can enhance profit margin compared to selling through intermediaries. Now the cooperative models can also be applied in vermicomposting. Means farmer can form cooperatives to pool the resources and share knowledge about vermicomposting techniques. These collective efforts can help reduce cost and improve product quality while increasing market reach. So the government support, like initiative like Paramparagat Krishi Mission in India, encourage organic farming and provide technical assistance and incentive for vermicompost production, further enhancing market opportunities for farmers. So we can enhance this kind of activities through various awareness campaign, like collaboration with some various NGOs dedicated to this, and agricultural organization can help raise awareness among rural farmers about the benefits of vermicomposting, potentially expanding the customer base and improving the sale channel. So what government support and policies is meant for vermicomposting? So government initiative is continuously promoting the vermicomposting, like National Project on Organic Farming, that is NPOF, provides financial assistance for organic manure production, including vermicomposting, through a credit-linked subsidy via NABARD. Along with that, the National Horticulture Mission, that NHM, offers around 50% financial assistance for setting up vermicompost production units, which is capped at Rs 30,000 per beneficiary. National Project on Management of Soil Health and Fertility, that NPM SHF, includes provision for subsidies on organic fertilizer, including vermicompost, up to Rs 500 per hectare. Along with that, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, that RKVY, supports organic fertilizer initiative and promotes sustainable farming practices. So what subsidies or incentive available for the farmers? That Vermicompost Ikai of Rajasthan provides subsidy for the farmers to establish vermicomposting units. Unit size: RCC construction unit, 50% of the installation cost up to around 50,000 rupees. HDPE Vermibid units, 50% of the installation cost up to rupees 8,000. In case of direct benefit transfer, that is DBT, funds are transferred directly to farmers' bank account after verification of the constructed units. In case of state specific initiative, for example, the Tamil Nadu government offers a subsidy of rupees 1 lakh under the state agriculture development scheme to encourage the organic manure production for the farmers. Thank you everyone.